di screenshot dimasukkan di apa di presensi.
Iya.
Oke.
Peserta baru satu yang mendaftar hampir 500.
Daftar hampir 500, yang masuk baru.
Pak Muklis ya. Ini sini juga di Probolinggo baru adzan sholat Isya.
Apa? Bentar lagi Pak Muklis bakal dapat japrian-japrian. Saya masuk di live streaming, tapi nggak dapat absen. Pak Airudin mikir apa ya?
Oh, enggak, lagi siap-siap.
Ya, biasanya jam 8, jam 8 waktu Indonesia Barat atau jam 9 Indonesia Tengah biasa baru mencapai puncak dari jumlah partisipan. Saya lihat seperti itu. Terima kasih.
Oke, 2 menit ke depan kita siap-siap Bapak Ibu semua. Apa mau dimulai Pak Herudin?
Oke. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum Ben, the teacher at Australian International School. And also from University of Nottingham. I hope I'm right.
That's right.
Yeah. Mrs. Lindsay is living in Jakarta, right? And she's working on the Australian International School in Jakarta since 2015, right? I just write. Oke, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, malam hari ini kita kedatangan tamu spesial, yaitu Mrs. Lindsay, kelahiran Australia, yang bekerja sebagai guru di Australia International School di Jakarta. Jadi, Mr. Lindsay ini akan menjelaskan kepada kita tentang restorative practices. Thanks to Miss Chan who invite the Miss Lindsay to coming for our webinar. We are so glad you want to share with us the attractive topic. This is we have not before the topic like this. It's very attractive, and thank you so much for you. And then now we have something special actually for our Teachers Day in Indonesia, and actually we are routine for the Wednesday night to webinar every Wednesday night, but tonight actually is very special because we are in Teacher Day in Indonesia, and also we are coming for our anniversary for 4 years for our community SADAR. Okay, Miss Lindsay, I don't talk very much, I think, because my English is so bad too. But the time is yours. Okay.
Okay.
Please, share to us.
Terima kasih, Pak. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me here today. I'm very excited to share with you something that is a very big passion of mine. Because as much as I'm an EAL teacher, I'm also the well-being coordinator for the school that I work at, and it's really important for me that a school environment is not just about education, that we are actually supporting young people to become the best person they can be. And a part of that means that we use what we call restorative practices at our school. And this is something that is happening all over the world, but it's also something that is often seen as a little bit radical. It has really proven to be amazing for our students' social and emotional development. All right, so we're viewing the student as a whole person, not just as somebody to teach maths and science and English and, literature and Bahasa. Our students are more than that. And it's our job as educators to educate the whole child, So today we're going to look at restorative practices. So we'll look at what are restorative practices? What does it mean? And what does it mean for us as teachers? What are some of the challenges and barriers that you might face when you wish to introduce restorative practices to your school? And also the magic that can happen when you do have restorative practices. Okay. All right. So let's have a look. Restorative practices it's a facilitated process that is aimed at understanding our own behaviour. So when a student does something against the school rules, regulations, against the values of your organisation, we're often tempted to tell the student off and say, don't do it again. We're often tempted to ask them for an apology, harus minta maaf, and we might ask them to shake hands, and to make up. But restorative practices, it's a process that's designed to create empathy. Because what we want from our young people is more empathy. We don't want more aggression, more violence, more resentful behaviour. We want empathy. And restorative practices is about owning your behaviour fault. It is your fault. You have to own that behaviour, and you need to own the feelings that come with it as well. If you feel hatred towards another person, that's your feeling, that's not their fault. So we have to own our behaviours and be accountable and responsible for our behaviours. And restorative practices, it's a process that is designed to gain greater understanding of yourself and other people around us. So it's much more than an apology. It's definitely student-led and not teacher-led, although from the beginning you may have to lead the process until students become used to or accustomed to the process. It's prepared. You have to prepare for a restorative process, and it takes time. And it's inclusive. It's an inclusive process. It involves parents, teachers, students, and bystanders. That's people who might have seen what happened. So what we're talking about today is a process that assists the teacher to support a child to know when they have behaved in a way that is not in line with the values of the school. Now, we experience this every day, don't we, where students break the rules, or where students don't want to cooperate, or a student might have a fight or a verbal argument with another student. You may find that girls ignore each other, and girls call each other names and are nasty behind each other's backs, that use their phones as a weapon to hurt somebody else. And we can handle all of these things through restorative practices. Now, restorative practices, they're not apologies. And I know how easy it is to insist that a child apologizes to another child. But an apology does not mean that anybody regrets or has learned from their mistakes. An apology just means that it's finished, it's over, but the feelings still remain. If we think about an angry child and he might hit another child or kick, by asking that child to say sorry, we're not really teaching them why their actions are wrong. We just tend to punish them and say, well, you were wrong, you must say you're sorry. But the human brain doesn't work that way. And the more our children grow into teenagers, the more rebellious they become. And they want to know why you are punishing them or why you are blaming them. So, these are reasons why we use restorative practices, to help students understand why they are going to receive a consequence for what they've done. And a restorative meeting is not a one-off meeting. with the expectation that issues will be resolved. Restorative practices acknowledge that an issue cannot be resolved with just an apology. We need our students to change their behaviour. It's not teacher-led. The student should be the one coming up with the ideas. The student should be able to tell you why they hit that other person, or why did they say those words? Because there is always a reason why we behave in a way. And restorative practice, they're not finished on the day of the incident. Now, the incident will occur, but restorative practices can take weeks. But the outcome is way more than a meeting where you tell somebody they are wrong, you ask them to apologize, and then you expect it to be forgotten. Because our emotions are not forgotten in the 10 minutes it takes to do that. Our emotions stay with us the next day, the day after, the day after. And restorative practices, they're not just for the student who did wrong. They're for the victim or the target. They're also for the parents, because parents want to know that their children are cared for in our schools. So there are lots of advantages to doing things in a different way. Okay, so why should we engage in restorative practices? Okay, punitive. Now, punitive is the word we use when we just punish a child for doing something and we do not speak with them about it. We tell them that they are wrong. Restorative practices ensure that the child tells you that they are wrong and that they understand why they are wrong and they want to fix the problem. And, you know, if we're going to continue to be punitive with punishments, they don't really meet the needs of teaching and learning in 21st century schools. Because it is more and more our responsibility as teachers to take care of the emotional health of our children. More and more parents want us to do that. More and more legal requirements, child protection policy, child safeguarding policy require that we do not have bullying at our schools. But that is a very difficult goal to reach because young people will always bully. So we have to find ways to handle that, whereby our students understand that their behaviours cannot be repeated. Again, punitive measures, they do not acknowledge the link between wrongdoers and those that they have harmed. So if we just punish a child, you hit that child, we will punish you. But the child being punished does not understand that they have hurt the other person, not only physically, but emotionally as well. And it's important that a perpetrator acknowledges the hurt and damage they have done. Again, if we punish our students, there's no connection between the punishment and what they did. So we're going to say to a child, you must come to my classroom every day after school for 2 weeks. But there is no connection between that and the hitting or the bullying of another child. There's no connection. The punishment does not fit the crime. So a student won't make the connection and they just become angry and resentful that you have punished them. So you're a bad teacher for punishing them. And your relationship becomes broken. And that's not what we want. We want our relationships to be solid, trusting relationships. Restorative practices does acknowledge the damage that an action can have on a relationship. We have to know that an apology is not enough. Behaviours must change. And restorative practices acknowledge this. And you are able to have a more enhanced climate of care within your school. By using restorative practices and not punishing students immediately, we can foster a climate of care within a school environment. Okay, so let's have a look at the punitive. All right, so by punitive, I mean the punitive focuses on punishment. Okay, it focuses on what rule has been broken at school. Then it focuses on who is to blame. And then it is what is the punishment going to be. So when we punish our kids at school, this is what we do. You have broken this rule, you are responsible, and I am going to punish you. The child is not involved in that process at all. The child does not speak out, the child cannot have a voice. Where with restorative practices, it focuses on accountability, on healing from the damage, and what are the needs to move forward. So the questions we answer are what happened? These are the questions. What happened? You ask the child, what happened? And then you can ask the other child, what happened? And you listen and you hear their stories, because everybody has their own story. And then you look at who has been affected by your actions and how have they been affected. And the questioning part is so important. And then we need to ask what needs to be done to put things right. And the child needs to come up with the answer to that, not the adult. It's the child. If the child says, I think I would like to apologize, then that's perfect. And that's wonderful, because you know the apology is coming from the heart. What do we need to do to move forward? This is another question that is so important. What do we need to do? So maybe an apology might be made. Maybe the other person would like to explain how that felt. Maybe they would like to, well, maybe I will sit next to you in class now and I will get to know you more. But what action do we need to keep moving forward with the process? Okay, so this is what restorative practices look like where I am at AIS. So first of all, we listen to the child without judgment. It is not my place to judge who is right and who is wrong. I listen to the child. They tell me their story. I listen to the other child. They tell me their story. And then I investigate. So I will speak to friends of the two, and I will talk to their friends, and I will find out what their friends think. What do you think happened? Is there some history? Are these two enemies? Do they live near each other? Are they family? What's happening with that relationship? And then, of course, after the incident, we always need to inform the parents of both children. We will inform the teachers that something has happened. I may not give details because, of course, child protection, we sometimes have to keep things confidential. I will, of course, speak to my head of campus and let him know what's happening. And I will also speak to the bystanders, and they're the people who saw the incident or the friends of the two people involved. Then I'm going to prepare the students. So I'm going to prepare the target, the bystanders, the aggressor, the person who did the bad action, and all the parents. And I'm going to tell them my plan and what I'm going to do. Because I've investigated it, I've listened, and I'm ready to move forward. Now, if you have a school counsellor on your campus, then of course the ideal would be that you meet your school counsellor and ensure that both students are ready to explore their feelings and their emotions. If you do not have a school counsellor, that's okay. You just need to become more experienced in restorative practices. And then what happens is there are meetings that take place. So we have listened, we have investigated, we have informed parents and everybody. We have prepared our participants so they know what they're going to say, they know what they're going to do, and now we have a meeting. So our meetings are with me, the target, and the aggressor. And later we will look at the conversation. Then I will meet the aggressor with the bystanders, because an incident is not just between two people, because those two people have friends, and friends are impacted by their actions also. And then I have a meeting with the target and the bystanders, so they can all feel supported. So everybody knows that it is not just about the target and the aggressor, that we understand that one incident has many, many factors. The next step would be that we inform parents, teachers, head of campus, that the meetings have taken place, that a positive resolution has occurred, and then maybe 1 or 2 weeks later, we will follow up. So I will meet again with the target, the bystanders, and the parents to make sure that everybody is happy, that everything is going well, that the two people are getting along, and that their relationship is now fixed. The focus of this process is all on relationships. The focus on punitive or punishment is all on the punishment and making a child feel bad about their actions and themselves. And we have to be careful when we make people feel bad, because unless we have listened without judgment and we have investigated without bias, we are in no position to tell a child that they are wrong and blame them. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so restorative practices are about process. It's not about immediate restoration. It takes time. And it can take weeks. And particularly if a child has been in a long-term aggressive relationship with another child. You know, it takes a long time to prepare a child for this, to prepare the parents, to prepare everybody for a meeting where the target has to confront the aggressor. It's not easy. It's easier if you have access to a school counsellor. That has huge benefits for the process. Now, students can come in or out of the meetings, but if you prepare well and you listen and you investigate, you inform and prepare, if you follow these steps, you find that every child is ready to have a conversation. If they're not, don't force it. We can wait. All right? We wait and we talk again and then we wait. Now, parents can be involved, but only as supportive parties. I actually do not allow parents in those meetings because what I find is that the child is ready to forgive and move forward, but the parent is not ready to forgive. So it often causes more problems because the parents can become quite aggressive. And it's not a safe place for a child when a parent is being aggressive. So this is all to protect our children, child safeguarding again, child protection. All right? Parents are too emotionally biased. I'm a parent. You mess with my child, I get angry. So we need to really support the child, and it is about the child. It is not about the parent, and it is never about the teacher. It is always about the child. Okay, now some of us work in schools where we have students of learning support. So maybe students who are on the autism spectrum, or maybe we have some students who are facing ADHD or ADD challenges, or anxiety, depression, and other such areas. And this restorative practices works really well for students of learning support, because a student of learning support doesn't always have a voice. Adults tend to speak for the child. So a restorative process gives a child a voice, and it allows them to share how they feel, and it allows them to make their own decisions. So, I think as much as some of our students, especially on the autism spectrum, may not know how to express emotion, if a school can have a social and emotional thinking class, learn the vocabulary of emotional intelligence, this is a huge benefit for everybody in your school. Now, whole school approaches, of course, the ideal is that we have a whole school approach to restorative practices. This means that your principals, sorry, it's going to cost money. You need training. You need to really know how these processes work. Today is just a little introduction, okay? So whole school approaches are powerful, all right? When a whole school understands the approach and a principal says, this is the way we are going to run the well-being of our school, it becomes a very powerful process. Now, not every teacher needs to engage, but you do need to support those who carry out the work. It can be very emotionally draining to carry out restorative work and very time-consuming, but it does create a more peaceful school community. Teachers need to trust the process. All right, so if you're thinking about this in your school, teachers have to trust, and they have to enter into it meaningfully. Otherwise, they let you do it. You have to have the trust of your team. It's very important. Lots of parent workshops need to be done. Part of my role is I do parent workshops. I do 2 every semester, so 1 every term. And a lot of that is about restorative practices. Some of it is about the teenage brain and how to parent your child through a difficult time. And there are lots of ways, but engaging and supporting our parents is crucial, because parents need to understand restorative approaches, because, like me, they would have been used to punishment. And maybe some of our parent practices are all about punishment, all right? Because we all parent in different ways. So it's important that we're on the same page and that we recognise and ask parents to follow the school's approach so that the messages at home and at school are the same. Again, I talk about this because this is what I teach. I teach social and emotional thinking. And it's a very new subject in a school, I also teach EAL, but it's so important that we educate our students on social and emotional thinking. So this is what this is what I teach. So I teach our students how to be resilient, how to respect themselves and then respect others. Because just because I'm a teacher, it doesn't mean I deserve respect. I know that culturally, in many cultures, respecting teachers is very important. And I value that. And I also respect that value in students. But I also believe that I have to earn my students' trust and my students' respect. I teach them about relationships with others and how to communicate with other people. I teach them about empathy, compassion, and altruism, because we have to teach our children this. We cannot assume that our children have these skills or that our children's parents are teaching them. So we have to make sure our students are developing emotional intelligence, because if they're not, we can never engage them in meaningful conversations. We will never reach restorative practices. We will only ever be punishers. And you know, teachers are not punishers. We don't punish kids. We have a passion for educating. We have a passion for making sure that our students are happy on a day-to-day basis. You know, I know, and I've worked with Indonesian teachers in Indonesian schools, and I know how passionate you all are about your students and how you want the best for them. I've done many workshops on social and emotional education for Indonesian school teachers, and I know how passionate you are and how much you want to do the best job you possibly can. When we approach things restoratively, we have to acknowledge that there might be no tidy ending. Okay, we can't just say, okay, stamp, done. All right, an apology will never solve anything. Students apologize and say they're sorry because they know it's what we want to hear. They rarely do it from their heart, rarely. They do it to get out of trouble, to get out of school, to go home, you know? So what we want to do is foster a school environment where students are safe, where they are open to expressing emotion and comfortable to walk away saying they're sorry because they honestly know that what they did was wrong, that it did not fit with the values of the school. Okay, now, if you were interested in looking at having restorative or working with some restorative practices in your school, be careful, because there are some barriers. You know, I've been doing this for years. Originally, I used to work for the British government, developing white paper education policy around young people who were high risk for criminal behaviours. I also worked in prisons, male prisons with young men, with social and emotional education, trying to prevent them from repeating criminal activity when they were released from prison. So I've seen these processes work so beautifully with so many young people, and I'm very passionate about what I do. But be careful, because parents see this as a soft approach. You know, it's, what's the word, it's lembut. Maaf bahasa Indonesia saya tidak bagus, tapi saya coba aja ya. Tapi
Yes,
the approach
right.
is
Soft is right.
lembut, yeah.
Yeah, that's
They
right.
want mereka mau gurunya keras, harus keras. Anak saya harus belajar, yeah. And restorative practices are not keras. They are calm, they are rational. They allow the student to understand what they did was wrong. And I think I have lived in Indonesia a long time, 15 tahun saya di sini, and I have worked with many parents. And I know that Indonesian parenting can also be keras. And, you know, I know that parents, I have taken a long time to build the trust with the parents at our school. But it is amazing. When you do that, it is incredible, because things happen in the family home, and parents are more understanding and more gentle, you know, and their children are happier. And that's what we all want, is happy children. Happy teenagers. Cultural clashes. Now, this is something that's happened at my school, because we have many students from all over the world. I have orang Korea, I have from Thailand, I have orang Indonesia, orang campur, you know, orang Japan, so many students. And I know that culturally, parents want an apology. They want that child to say they're sorry. But in fairness, if an apology is not genuine, I would not want that for my child. A restorative process allows a child to make the decision, I want to apologize because I know what I did was wrong. And that's when you get the apology. And the apology is genuine. You know, I've seen some beautiful letters written to parents, to another child, even to the grandparents of a child, to apologize for their actions towards that child. So, teachers are another barrier. I think we all know that most teachers are very passionate about what they do, but I don't think I'm wrong when I say that some teachers just want it to be quick, a quick fix, because we are all very busy. And I know Indonesian teachers, you work many, many hours. And I know that you work more hours than me. And I respect and I value you for that. Classroom teachers may not be fully educated. All right, so this is where your homeroom teachers, if you are secondary school, or your classroom teachers at primary school, really need to be educated about the benefits of restorative practices. Some people may find it difficult to move from punitive to restorative. It's new, it's unique, but a little bit later we'll look at how it does work. All right, we have to remember that students have to trust us. We have our students for up to 8 or 9 hours a day. We teach them. You know, if we teach, is it the Papa KM that teaches citizenship and values to Indonesian students? Those students have to trust us because we're teaching values. And it's really important that we have that relationship. And if you become a restorative practitioner, those relationships are going to grow and the students are going to trust you. Okay, now you might be a bit skeptical. When I do teacher workshops, I do a 3 or 4 hour workshop on restorative practices and how to do them, you know. And I still have people saying, but how do we know it works? So I've been running restorative practices at AIS since 2016, when I managed to convince my principal at that time that he should let me try. And he said to me, I will give you 6 months. So he let me stop teaching EAL and he let me set up classes for social and emotional thinking. And he let me deal with the well-being and to set up a system in our school. And up till now, so that's been 4 years, we have had a major decrease in bullying, to the point where I can honestly tell you that I go for months without a reported bullying case. We've had a decrease in aggressive incidents and unpleasant interactions with students. Students know how to speak to each other with respect. Issues don't disappear, all right? We have an amazing positive bystanding culture, which is leading to an increase in reporting. So the more that students feel safe and trust you, the more they will talk to you about what's happening in your school community. So you will know where bullying is happening in your school. You will know which student is getting bullied on the way home from school. You will know which girl is feeling excluded by her girlfriends. You will also know who's dating who. And sometimes you have too much information. But I would rather have too much information than not enough and know that my students are being attacked and bullied by other students. At this point, students come to me and say, Miss, I have done something wrong and I would like to make it better. And I say, okay, do you want a meeting? Yes, we do. And they facilitate the process because they know that it works and it's what they want to do. They know if their behavior is wrong because I teach them SET. And we also have Papa KM. We have an Indonesian teacher and she's amazing. You know, so our students have this massive education around being a human being and what that means. I have trained peer mentors. So I have students who I train on weekends on a Saturday. I'm very passionate and they are trained to work in the school community and create a school culture of positivity. If they see somebody who's looking uncomfortable, they are trained to go to them and say, hey, is everything okay? Do you need anything? You know, they are given the responsibility to work with young people emotionally. They're incredible young people and emotionally intelligent. They are amazing. We get less long-term friendship issues. Okay, so the hate between two people, often girls can hate for a long time. Relational aggression is a thing. And we have less of that because a girl gets treated badly by her friend. She tells me, Miss Lindsay, I need to tell you. And I work with the girl to make it right. Students feel empowered. And there is nothing more magical than an empowered student. They feel like you are listening as teachers and they respect it and they love it and they want it, you know, because if we're not punitive, they can respect you more and understand more and want to communicate with you more. You learn more and in turn can be a better teacher. Okay, now, this one we've talked about. So students request meetings. So a student in our school, they do this a lot. They approach another student and say, I don't like the way you behaved towards me. Can we go and see Miss Lindsay and have a meeting? And the other student will say, okay. So eventually students ask for a meeting. Teachers don't, but students do. So it's interesting how the power has left the teachers and been given to the students. Parents are really supportive for what I do, to what I do. They are so supportive. I know each and every one of them by name. They come and see me. My door is open. Not at the moment. My online door is open. And they know that we will support them. We have seen a decrease in family arguments because students talk through conflict. And that is not just conflict at school, that is conflict at home. You know, because our teenagers need to know how to handle conflict at home. You know, and they know. And many of my students, when the parents are having a disagreement, they can step in and say, Mom, Dad, how can we resolve this? And they're amazing. They're mediators. You know, and we live in a world of conflict right now. You know, wherever we look, there is conflict. There is world conflict. You know, and whatever angle we come from, it's conflict. And surely we want to teach our children how to be peaceful and how to restore relationships and how to reach resolutions, not fight. You know, conflict can be healthy and we need to teach them that. So we have greater parental involvement. And I think a happy school is a school where parents are involved and are happy. You know, our parents seek support. Parents can visit me. They don't have conflict with the school. They know that what we're doing is right. To begin with, there was a lot of conflict from parents, and I had a lot of parent meetings and I had to convince them. But when they see how amazing their child becomes, they're really happy to have this work. And we gain more customers at our school because of these processes. There is less tolerance for punitive measures. My students very often come to me and tell me that they feel unfairly treated by a teacher. And I believe that this is amazing, because if a teacher is using a punitive measure, a child can feel bullied and attacked by their teacher. But because they're an adult, and culturally we tell our students they must respect adults, they have to show respect. But it really does damage to the mental health of that child. A child needs to feel heard. They need to feel fairly treated. So, this is the good one, that overall academic readiness increases, all right? Our students are mindful. You know, they're able to communicate their emotions and their feelings, and they feel happier. And if a student is happier, a student is ready to study. If a student has many emotional issues within their friendship group, or is bullied, is feeling attacked or targeted, they are not ready to study to their fullest potential. Magic happens, and I truly believe this. When students feel empowered to take control of their own situations, their own emotions, we create better human beings all round. Academic readiness increases, which means a grade increase occurs. So your students will be more focused in the classroom. They will be reaching higher academic grades. You will have less challenging behaviour in the classroom, a lot less. That's magic in my book. All right, now I'm nearly at an end. Obviously, there is a lot more to learn about restorative practices, but I'm going to give you something to take away with you today, so that even in your own classroom, you can begin to see how this could work for you. And I'm sure that those of you who are interested further will be researching restorative practices to gain more knowledge. So deep restorative practices need strategy. You know, you do need to work beforehand. You know, you need to restorative school. Remember, I've spent 4 years building this in my school, and it is the best it has ever been. Even through online education, we have a very healthy school community. And compared to other schools, we are ahead of our game. We are doing a great job. We could always do more, but we're doing what we can, and I believe it to be amazing. But look, when you're in your classroom, and when we go back to face-to-face education, and you know, when something happens in your online class, you know, we can start looking at how we bring restorative practices into our classroom. And, you know, some of these questions are amazing. In fact, if you just have these 5 questions, try them out. Of course, maaf, saya tidak tahu untuk translasi. I don't know how to translate. Okay, but these questions are, what happened? And you hear from the child what happened. And then you can ask them, what were you thinking at the time? And they're going to tell you, oh, well, I don't think I was thinking, was I? Or I was just angry, or I was emotional, or I was thinking how much I hated them. And suddenly, as a teacher, you have so much information about what happened. Then you can ask them, what have you thought about since it happened? And they might say to you, well, I think I might have been a little bit nasty to that person. I think maybe I should not have called them names, or, you know, I'm thinking that perhaps I was wrong. You know, because after an incident, when emotions have been put forward, people calm, they calm. And then you need to ask them, who's been affected by your actions and how? So who? And it's not just the person that they were mean or awful to or about. It's going to be you as a teacher because they disrupted your lesson. It may be the parents of that child because the parents, are going to be upset for their child. They're going to be emotional that something cruel or mean was said or done to their child. It's the parents of the aggressor because they might be disappointed in their child's behavior. So there are many people affected by one single action. And we want our students to think about that. And then we're going to say, what about this conversation has been the hardest for you? And the child is going to say, maybe admitting that I'm wrong. It's hard to hear that somebody else is going to be affected. It's hard to hear that I did damage to another person. And then when they fully understand their actions, you can ask, what do you think needs to be done to make things right? And that's when the child takes responsibility and can say, well, I think I could apologize. I think I could, and they're going to come up with their own solution to the problem. Now, when you teach social and emotional thinking, this process is amazing because a child will be able to articulate their emotion and they will be able to tell you everything that was wrong with their behavior. But, we have to have that education as well. But even if we don't have that education, these kind of questions can really support you as a teacher to resolve a situation. If you want to follow the whole process, then you need to put a process into your school. And you need to be trained and you need to, believe in that process. And that's something maybe, we can talk about another time. Okay. Thank you for listening. And I know that what I have said today it's exciting and it's interesting and it's stimulating. And I know that you're all thinking at 100 kilometers per hour, how can I do this at my school? And how can I? And it's going to be so difficult. But I don't know. I think that if you can just start with your own conversation and your own approach to a child, you can really make a difference. And you will contribute to child protection and child safeguarding in such a positive way. So I'm going to finish there. I've probably gone over time and I am so sorry. I like talking about this.
Okay, it's okay.
And I am sorry.
It's okay.
But yes, I will hand it back to you. Terima kasih, Tan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Lindsay. This is very interesting and open our mind how to change the punitive to restorative. It's very good for our education. Actually, for our teacher, Indonesian parenting is keras. Okay. We have actually now we have some question in our chat, but maybe mungkin ada Bapak dan Ibu yang ingin bertanya langsung. Nanti saya persilahkan untuk bertanya. Mrs. Lindsay, I will be give a brief for our participant. What the topic tonight. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu, kita malam hari bicara tentang bagaimana mempraktekkan tentang restoratif. Restoratif itu Bapak dan Ibu pendekatan yang mengurangi kejahatan, terutama di dalam bidang pendidikan. Tadi Mrs. Lindsay banyak bicara tentang bullying di sekolah, dan ini sangat masif terjadi Bapak dan Ibu. Nah, jadi tadi ada beberapa pendekatan yang diberikan oleh Miss Lindsay kepada kita, termasuk ya yang paling saya terkesan adalah kita itu bukan saling menyalahkan ya. Jika misalnya ada persoalan, bukan saling menyalahkan, tapi saling membuka pikiran bagaimana kita bisa menjaga sikap sehingga kita bisa menjadi sesuatu yang 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 tidak menimbulkan konflik di sekolah gitu. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu, ini bahasan yang sangat menarik, dan dalam hal ini guru harus menjadi pemimpin, guru harus menjadi orang yang mendesain agar restoratif praktis bisa berlangsung dengan baik di sekolah, sehingga kejahatan-kejahatan di dalam bidang pendidikan, termasuk bullying, termasuk saling mengejek dan sebagainya, itu bisa bisa dihadapi. Nah, jadi Bapak dan Ibu, tadi ada bagaimana cara kita mendengarkan persoalan, bagaimana cara kita menginvestigasi, kemudian melibatkan pendamping, kemudian menyiapkan, membuat pertemuan, dan kemudian menginformasi, termasuk melibatkan orang tua. Involve the parent, jadi melibatkan orang tua juga dalam hal ini. Nah, jadi Bapak dan Ibu, ini sangat menarik sekali bahasan kita pada malam hari ini, dan ini saya pikir baru pertama kali Sadar tampil dengan bahasan yang seperti ini. Saya sudah punya beberapa pertanyaan di di kolom chat, dan mohon maaf Bapak dan Ibu, saya tidak baca yang memperkenalkan diri atau Bapak dan Ibu yang menanyakan tentang token sertifikat, tetapi saya akan membaca pertanyaan yang berhubungan dengan yang berhubungan dengan topik kita malam hari ini. Mrs. Lindsay, someone asked to you. The name is Lilik Sri Wahyuni. Miss Lilik Sri Wahyuni. Excuse me, may I ask to Miss Lindsay Ben how to hold the parent workshop to give them real use in the classroom? If you don't mind, give me the example in your country how to arrange the interaction joyfully with the teacher and the parents.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I work in Jakarta. So this is what I do here in Indonesia. I obviously learned most of the practices in the UK. But here, what I do is every term, I do parent workshops and on lots of different topics. And I invite all the parents to come. And sometimes I have a lot, sometimes not so many. And then I share my PowerPoint slides with the parents who could not make it. And I do that during school hours. Now, I invite them in usually from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. in the morning, because a lot of our school community, the mothers, predominantly the mothers, don't work. So it's an easy kind of way to do that. But I also take my workshops out of the school community, and I will reach out to parents through, I've done things through Anza House. I've done things for moms through an Arisan as well. Through Arisan. And I've been invited to do my workshops at all sorts of other places, So that's how I reach parents, but I have to be flexible. Sometimes I do it in the evenings, so that for the working parents, of course. And sometimes I do it on a weekend, on a Saturday morning, just to make sure that I reach the whole community, because it's important that parents understand what we are doing. Because if our parents understand it, they like it, they make it easier for us, But I think you have to build a relationship with your school community first, so you have to talk to parents. And I just email parents sometimes and tell them their child is amazing, and, just building those relationships with your school community is very, very important. So get to meet the parents whenever you can.
Okay. Ya, gitu Bu Lili, jawaban dari Miss Lindsay. Jika ada yang ingin ditanyakan secara langsung, Ibu bisa mengajukan raise hand. Ibu bisa menekan tombol raise hand untuk bertanya langsung kepada Miss Lindsay. Silakan Ibu jika masih ingin menanyakan secara langsung. And then Miss Lindsay, we have Mr. Nugraha Sofyan. Okay. Miss Lindsay, our school in January 2021, we learn face to face whether you still have to maintain a strike health protocol.
Also, I believe that before we open, there will be an inspection by the government to say whether our school is ready and it has the protocols in place. So at the moment, we are working very hard towards having all of those safety protocols in place. Definitely.
I have one student. This is from another one from Mr. Daryl. Okay, I have one student inclusive. Every day, the other student bullying him. How to manage my student in the class?
Okay. I mean, this is a wonderful way you can use restorative practices for this. So, you know, you can take the bully and you can listen to what he has to say. And you can have a one-on-one meeting through the computer. And you can talk to him and say, I have seen you do this and this, and in my eyes, that is bullying. Why do you behave in such a way? And if you use a soft voice and you don't yell and don't shout and, you know, jangan keras, just gently ask the student, why do you feel the need to bully? And listen to what the child has to say. And then ask some more questions. And then you can say, but how does it feel when you bully them? And try to get the child to tell you how it might feel. Do they feel angry? Are they hurt? Do they feel good when they bully somebody? Because usually a bully does it because it makes them feel good, you know? And then you can say to him, how do you think it feels to be the other person, the other boy? How do you think he feels? And you want your student to say, well, I'm sure he feels frightened, upset, angry, hurt, you know, and you're looking for those, and then you can ask the bully. So if it makes him feel this way, why do you do it? Why do you bully him? And you're going to hear all of the story. And there's always a story when it comes to children, always a story. So listen to the child's story. And through listening, you can then ask, what can we do for this to work? What can we do so that you stop bullying this boy? Because this boy doesn't like being bullied. So what can we do? And by saying we, you're kind of colluding with the child. And it's a really good use of language. Say, what can we do together to stop you from bullying that child? And the child can come up with some solutions for you. And if the child can't, because perhaps they're young, primary school, maybe you can give those suggestions. And you can say, well, look, how about you try not to bully for a day? And then I'm going to talk to you and I want to know how it feels. So you end up coaching the child through the process. And then the child will stop. The child will stop because they will see how their actions are hurting another child.
Okay, thank you. Ya, jadi Bapak dan Ibu intinya seperti ini ya. Kalau misalnya ada teman seseorang yang suka ngebully teman yang lain, kita bisa untuk memanggil yang tukang bully ini, dan kemudian kita mengajaknya, kita berkomunikasi dengannya dengan cara-cara yang persuasif. Jangan keras, tapi kita juga mengajaknya, ya jangan permalukan dia juga, meskipun dia sudah melakukan kesalahan, ya ajak saja secara persuasif, jangan dikeraskan. Kemudian pertanyaan pertama adalah, kenapa Anda membuli? Kenapa Anda membuli temannya? Apa yang Anda rasakan ketika Anda membuli teman? Apakah Anda bahagia? Apakah Anda senang teman membuli teman Anda? Atau adakah sesuatu yang membuat Anda itu harus membuli teman Anda itu? Nah, kemudian kita juga akan mendengarkan. Jadi jangan ditekan juga. Dengarkan si pembuli ini. Dengarkan apa yang menjadi kebahagiaan dia dalam membuli orang. Nah, mungkin dia punya eksistensi diri lewat situ dan sebagainya. Jadi kita harus dengarkan. Nah, kemudian kita akan coba menyepakati apa yang bisa kita lakukan bersama untuk menghentikan tindakan-tindakan bully. Jadi kita mengajak dia juga berpikir untuk menghentikan cara-cara dia membuli orang, tetapi melibatkan dia untuk berpikir untuk menghentikan membuli temannya. Ya, kemudian jangan lupa kita nanti juga akan membeli didn't participate in the learning.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You broke up there. The connection was not good.
Oh, okay. I will repeat. Okay, I will repeat.
Yes.
No problem. Okay. How to have the single parent who's working outdoor and his kid was in the home doing online learning, but the child didn't participate in learning.
Oh yeah, that's hard, isn't it? That a lot of our students are in that position, aren't they? Yeah, I think what I do here, because being the wellbeing coordinator as well, it's my job to reach out to students who are not engaging in schoolwork, and I usually contact them through the internet, and I arrange to meet with the child, and I will talk to the child about what is preventing them from engaging in school, and I will listen to the child, and then using restorative practices, we can ask the child what they need in order to re-engage in school. What can they do to make sure they are engaging in school? Because it's not the parents' job. Parents cannot constantly supervise their children. Parents have to work too.
Okay.
And this online learning is so challenging for everybody. But I would work directly with that one child, and I would call them, through online, and I would ask them, what can I do to help them re-engage?
Mm-hmm.
And if it was an issue, maybe it's time management, maybe their internet connection is not good, maybe they're just confused about the work and then they stop doing it because it's too hard. We have to support those students. And, you could always give them a mentor in the classroom as well. Maybe somebody who is an exceptionally good student can support a student who is struggling. So you have that student-to-student support, which is often better than teacher-to-student support as well. So, offering them those other things to help them stay connected, to stay engaged, is really important.
Okay. Ya, jadi intinya Bapak dan Ibu, kalau misalnya ya ada orang tua yang harus bekerja dan tidak bisa mengontrol anaknya untuk pembelajaran online, ya online learning, jadi terkadang-kadang juga terjadi masalah karena untuk kontrol dan sebagainya itu seperti yang disampaikan oleh Lindsay, itu tidak akan mungkin orang tua mengontrol keseluruhan karena orang tua juga harus bekerja, gitu kan? Nah, jadi ini sebenarnya ruang bagi guru untuk bersama-sama dengan orang tua berkomunikasi dan kemudian mengajak siswanya. Kemudian sebenarnya ini harus diketahui dulu akar permasalahannya. Diketahui akar permasalahan melalui komunikasi dengan orang tua dan guru. Jadi tetap peran guru yang paling besar untuk mengontrol siswa. Nah, jadi nanti kalau ada kendala, gurunya berkomunikasi dengan orang tua. Kurang lebih seperti itu tadi jawabannya. Saya melihat ada dua yang raise hand, Bu Indah dan Pak Adrianus. Saya persilakan Bu Indah untuk bertanya langsung. Someone who want to ask directly to you. Oke, silakan Bu Indah.
Hello.
Hi.
Mr. Lindsay, can you hear me?
I can. You're very quiet, so maybe try to speak a bit louder.
Yes.
Oke, lebih keras Bu Indah.
Yes. Okay. Yes, thank you. Actually, your voice sounded broken in my area, but I could listen to what was being said. Okay. The first time, thank you for the good opportunity. It is very interesting for your presentation tonight. But oh yeah, my name is Indah, and I am a teacher from high school, and of course, as a teacher at the high school level, of course, I often see students bullying each other.
Yeah.
There are several things that are related bullying done by my students. In this case, is how to handle bullying of their friends in school. Sometimes we as a teacher cannot monitor all our students' activities in all places in the school.
Yeah. For sure.
How to deal with a situation where a student is very close or not open to his teacher when they are bullied by their friends. So that we as a teacher can help the quiet students to respond from bullying from his friend. Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. I love your English. Well done. I wish I could speak Bahasa in the same way you can speak English. So that's great. Okay, yeah. One of the problems with teenagers, particularly boys, is that they're not very open to talking to teachers, because when a child tells their teacher, they're usually labelled as a snitch, you know, as somebody who's told the teacher, and it's got a very negative kind of feel to it. And I think that one thing that you can do is create an emotionally healthy classroom. And that would mean maybe in homeroom time, or, you know, a time where you have the class when maybe they're not doing a subject. You can have some lessons around the idea that expressing your emotions and talking about how you feel is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You know, and just adding some of that social and emotional thinking into your classroom. That will encourage people to be more open with you and to be more honest with you. The other thing that you could do with that class is you could always do a lesson around the issue of bullying, where you work with the students' understanding of bullying and what bullying is and how that impacts on other people. You know, where you can talk about the mental health issues that bullying creates, you know, because bullying can be directly linked to depression, it can be linked to anxiety, it can be linked to eating disorders, to self-harm and suicidal tendency behaviours. You know, and when we educate our students about this, most of them will choose not to bully. Those that do choose to bully, well, they need a bit more work. You know, and that's when you can look at this and you can talk to these students one-on-one and you can ask them those powerful questions. Why? I've seen you bully that person. Why do you do that? And they're going to deny it. I didn't. And you can say, but I saw you, and it doesn't matter. You're not in trouble. All right. I'm not going to punish you, but I want to know why you do it. And this way, the student can be heard. And even a bully needs to be heard, because there could be so many reasons why they are behaving like that. Their behaviour is not excusable. Never is bullying excusable. But getting a greater understanding of our students is going to always help us resolve issues of bullying. So if you have an assembly, for example, you know, I mean, you're probably not as fortunate as me. I have lessons. I have 3 lessons a fortnight with every student in the school. So I'm very lucky. But surely there's a place that you can do that in your school. The other thing that I know why it's happening, and when you've done that, the bullying will stop. because everybody will know that, you know, they shouldn't do that. We have to educate our young people. Why are they so aggressive? Why do they want to bully? What's going on in their lives that makes them want to bully another person? And the other thing that you can do, which our school, we've been very successful at this, is having or training a group of young people to be positive bystanders. So you will get older students who are more mature, maybe students who are high in emotional intelligence, you know, students that people look up to, and you can train those students to become peer mentors. And often students talking to students is way more powerful than a teacher talking to a student. I give my students huge responsibility to do this, and they are really good at it. And they get all the facts, who bullied who and why, and then they come back and we talk about it, and then I give them the support to continue to work with the students, so they then don't feel threatened because the teacher's not involved. You know, it's a student-centered approach to bullying. So those are all things that you could think about in your classroom, and what would you like to do to make it work? There are lots of options for you. Okay, that was a good question.
Okay, thanks for the explanation. This is can open my mind to being able to handle some bully activities at school, especially in high school. About in my school, this adds to my insight in handling case like this later. Okay, once again, thank you very much, and nice to meet you.
Oh no, thank you. That was a great question. You can have a look on the internet. There's lots of great websites that will help you handle those situations and train some peer mentors and restorative practices. So don't give up. Go and do some research and see what you can do in your classroom. It's a wonderful feeling when you can stop a student from.
Terima kasih Bu Indah. Then we will continue for the another with direct question. Please, Pak Adrian. Okay, open your mic, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hairudin, the host. Thank you. Ms. Lindsay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you. To me, there is a wrong perception. There's a wrong perception about bullying. Bullying occurs, to me, in the school environment because of the permissiveness that tends to be a culture in Indonesia and also in other countries. Permissiveness. Why? Students watch movies too often on TV, and even shows that contain scenes of violence, including bullying itself. And some people think bullying, so it is only a light. What do you call it? It's not, just take it easy, if you can say that.
Yeah.
But because of the high increase of bullying data in Indonesia and all over the world,
Yeah.
and that's why bullying tends to be a crime now. So this is what wrong perception. Some people are so permissive just to perceive this bullying is not a serious problem.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you can see now it's my perception. Do you agree with me or not? Thank you. That's only my question to you, Ms. Lindsay.
Good, Pak Adrian. Good.
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting question, and I can see that you feel very, very passionately about your view. I I'm inclined to agree with you. You know, I am always shocked when I watch television and shows that are designed for our teenagers, and how much bullying is involved in those shows. And our children are learning from television, they're learning from the news, they're learning from adults, they learn from everywhere. And, you know, sometimes I think that children are exposed to too much too soon. And I agree with you that it is almost a right to bully somebody. It's almost a badge of honor that you're a bully. And we often say things like, oh yeah, it's okay, you know, I was bullied at school, that's just normal. No, bullying is not normal, and bullying should never be seen as normal behavior. And bullying should never be seen as something that all students go through, or bullying creates resilience. It should never be seen as that. And I believe that throughout the world, and not just Indonesia, I know that Britain, schools in Britain have huge bullying problems because people accept the bullying happens. And, you know, oh yeah, well, of course, bullying happens in schools. Well, no, it doesn't happen in my school. You know, we can prevent that, but we have to have everybody on board. We have to view it as a problem, because bullying is a problem, you know, and it's not something that we should let our children go through. We should always challenge that. But I think, Pat, you know, the way you were saying that about the television and the influences, it seems as though we're fighting a battle against bullies all the time. And that's where the comes in, because we teach our children that bullying is wrong. We teach them that resilience does not come from bullying or being bullied. You know, resilience comes from an open mind, a growth mindset. You know, that bullying is not normal and it should never be tolerated.
Yes.
So, you know, I mean, that's where we need to look at our schools, having these healthy, emotionally led projects like social emotional thinking, having peer mentors, bystanders, people who are going to stand up and say, we do not want bullying in our school. And teachers, we say that all the time, but the power is with the students. When the students campaign and say, this school will be bully free, then we're on the way to having a bully free school. But we have to give our time to that, and we have to give.
Mrs. Ligi, there are many attendees raise their hand. Ari Suyanto, apa yang harus dilakukan orang tua apabila anak kandung tetap dilakukan? He asked, what's parent do if his child get bullying in the school, but still continue?
Yes.
Don't get effect, something like that.
Yeah, okay. Look, this is a common problem in a lot of schools that don't have any education around bullying and why it's wrong. And I think in this case, you know, certainly for our school, this used to happen. You know, when I first came to our school, it's very common. But when we brought in the restorative practices, we found a major decrease in bullying. You know, because what we want to do is hold the bully accountable for their actions. We want them to understand that what they're doing is impacting on this other person's life. The school has to take very hard action against that child. Because I think we have to remember that we are living in a culture of liability, where in any country now, I see it in Indonesia too, that parents can take the school to court. They can sue you for not dealing with the bullying, you know. A parent can also go to the parents of the child who's the bully, and they can take them to court. They can sue them for being a bully. So as a school, we have to we have to keep moving forward with the times. So we have to have very strong bullying, anti-bullying policies in our schools. system for dealing with bullies that holds the bully accountable, then I think it's up to the head of campus what happens to the student. But I think as a teacher, you can begin to try to listen to what the bully has to say, because maybe the bully has reasons for bullying. Now, I don't believe anybody has. When you've already told a child to stop bullying and they continue, the child is not listening to you. You need to listen to them. So that's where the restorative questions come in. And you can say, okay, you know, I'm not going to punish you, but I want to know why you are still bullying this person after I have asked you not to. Why are you still doing that? And I think, you know, you have to work with the bully, and you have to work with the bully, and then you have to work with the person being bullied, and you have to give that person the confidence to stand up and say, stop bullying me. You know, you can train students to see bullying and to stop bullying. Bullying is not simple, but with an emotionally healthy school and good policies, check your school policy. What's your school policy on bullying? If you don't have one, you might want to start writing one, you know, get a team of teachers together to look at policy. Have yourself a procedure, you know, and really talk to these students. Educate all of your students. It's not a simple fix. It's difficult to stop bullying, but you have to have a process, and you have to educate students with emotional intelligence. You have to educate them that bullying is wrong and why it's wrong. You know, so you have to look at your whole school approach to bullying. It's not just an individual's approach, but if you want to try, you need to just speak with the student first. Find out what's really happening for that boy. You know, is it a bigger picture of that student, and make better decisions about how to handle it. You can have a meeting between the two, you know, a restorative meeting, and find out what's happening.
Oke, jadi ya pertama ya Bapak dan Ibu, yang menurut Lizzie ini, kenapa ini berlangsung terus menerus sementara orang tuanya sudah melaporkan, kemudian gurunya sudah menasehati dan sebagainya. Bisa jadi yang pertama di sekolah kita itu tidak ada aturan. Jadi mungkin coba cek lagi aturan, ada nggak aturan yang memberikan sanksi misalnya bagi anak-anak yang melakukan bullying di sekolah. Nah kemudian kecenderungan kita, guru, itu lebih sering menasehati daripada mendengarkan. Jadi kadang-kadang kita nasihati kita tidak dengarkan apa yang menjadi, maksudnya gini, pelaku bullying itu, ya pelaku kesalahan itu ya harusnya kita juga dengarkan. Kita juga libatkan agar tidak terjadi lagi bullying di sekolah. Meskipun pendekatan bullying ini ya tetap sulit ya Bapak dan Ibu sekalian, karena seperti yang disampaikan oleh Pak Adrianus tadi, itu sudah kayak sudah menjadi budaya tontonan setiap hari gitu. Tetapi jangan berhenti, Bapak dan Ibu terus-menerus harus melakukan cara seperti itu. Dan pendekatan orang tua juga harus sering mengawal agar anaknya juga tidak terus-menerus menjadi korban dari bullying di sekolah. Jadi saya pikir itu penjelasan dari Mrs. Lindsay. Oke, saya persilahkan yang raise hand untuk menonaktifkan mikrofonnya, from Rita Pertiwi. Oke, open your mic please, and you can ask directly to Mrs. Lindsay.
Hostnya kan di Pak Herudin, mereka hanya bisa dinyalain oleh Pak Herudin.
Ya Allah, kenapa nggak di-reclaim tadi nggak di-reclaim? Oke, baik, silakan Bu Rita Pertiwi. Silakan Bu Rita Pertiwi. Di-reclaim aja.
Open mic-nya kan Pak Herudin yang kontrol.
Oh iya. Enggak di-reclaim aja sama Bu Umi, nggak apa-apa. Oke, silakan Bu Rita Pertiwi.
Udah dinyalain belum?
Udah. Bu Rita Pertiwi.
Ya. Silakan Bu. Ya udah aku reclaim sebentar. Halo Bu Rita. Nggak ada suaranya ya?
Oke, bersiap-siap Bu. Halo Bu Rita.
Nggak ada Bu Rita raise hand di sini.
Rita Pertiwi.
Oh, nggak ada.
Oke, silakan selanjutnya Bu Widarti Idris.
Oh, Bu
Mrs.
Widarti. Halo? Halo?
Ya.
Halo?
Ya, silakan Bu Widarti,
Halo.
please.
Ya,
Ya,
silakan Ibu.
silakan.
Silakan.
Halo.
Ya, silakan Ibu. Bu Widarti, silakan. Tutup lagi.
Mungkin sinyal karena malam ini banyak yang ini sepertinya. Bu Lilik ya, Bu Lilik ya.
Boleh Bu Lilik. Ya, silakan
Halo,
Bu Lilik.
Bu Lilik.
Halo, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, silakan Ibu.
Oke, terima kasih Teh Umi. Good evening, Miss Lindsay Band.
Hello.
Before I ask you, let me introduce myself. I am teacher at elementary school in Kediri, East Java. In my opinion, this topic is interesting to me. I know that bullying is influence to the next life of the victim, about the emotion, the psychology, and etc. As you know, that my son has ever been the victim of bullying when he was at 6th grade. And now he is at 1st grade at senior high school. And I feel his characters be a stolid, not too much talk, and sometimes he is affectious, childish, and does not to appreciate his teacher. Even he doesn't trust that his mother as teacher. Oh my God! And how to give him encouragement as well as possible, make him positive thinking for everything. I know that when he was at 6th grade, the teacher didn't do anything about his bullying.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay. So I imagine that your son feels very let down, or that he's got a lack of trust in teachers because he's experienced something that was not resolved by a teacher. This can be very difficult because, many students feel that their teachers haven't dealt with bullying. Bullying is difficult to deal with. It's very difficult. So I can understand how your son may not feel that he trusts the teachers. Now, as a teenager, your son's brain, I think we know that a teenager's brain is still growing. And what happens with a teenager is the front part of their brain here, the frontal lobe, is responsible for emotions and feeling positive and feeling good or angry or happy, or angry, happy, because that's the teenager. Their brain is still growing. So I don't think it's possible for a teenager to think positively all the time. But the one thing that I teach, and I spend a whole term teaching it, is growth mindset and positive self-talk. And a growth mindset is something that you can talk to your son about. And when he views things from a negative perspective, you could say to him, I understand that might be the way you think or the way you feel. But if we were going to look at this positively, what would you say? And ask him to turn the negative into positive, because the brain needs practice.
Okay.
All right. The synaptic connections in the teenager's brain, if he thinks negatively, he will probably always think negatively.
Oh yeah.
But he needs to redesign his synaptic connections so that he can begin to see the world positively. I think it's understanding that he has had a very bad experience and he doesn't trust a teacher. I get that. I understand. Why would he? But I think we can ask him not to judge every teacher. There are teachers that want to listen to him, that want to hear what he has to say, you know, and are going to believe him. But I think if you might have to do a bit of research, right, Mom? You might do a bit of research on growth mindset and positive self-talk. Okay?
Okay.
You research that because it's really interesting. And there are lots of ways in which, as a parent, you can encourage your child to be more positive, to be a more positive thinker.
Yes.
Yeah. So do some research. I don't have time to go into that tonight, but maybe I'll come back and do that another time. We could all do growth mindset and self-talk. It's wonderful. But do some research, Abu, and then maybe talk to your child about that. But let them know that you really do understand that, you know, they might not have trust in every teacher because of what happened. But as a person, they can deal with that. They can become more resilient, but they need a growth mindset and they need to do some self-talk practice.
Okay.
Do some
Thank you, Miss Lindsay Vance. Has given the solution rightly my problem about my sons. And thank you, Mr. Khairuddin and Miss Umi has given the chance to ask directly to Miss Lindsay Vance. But I'm so sorry, my English is amburadul. Thank you.
Really good. You're so brave.
Sama-sama, terima kasih.
I think you're very brave for speaking out in English.
Amburadul katanya. Silakan Pak Khairuddin.
Yeah. Do you understand amburadur, Miss Lindsay?
I do.
Okay. In Surabaya, we have you know someone talk Indonesia very fluently from Australia. Dave, he has YouTube channel.
Oh,
Okay.
I think I know who you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Bule Londo. He's from Australian also. He's from Australia. Okay. Let's. We are glad to please Pak Heri Triswanto. Silakan dibuka Bumi Pak Heri Triswanto.
Oke, sebentar. Pak Heri. Oke, selamat malam Bapak. Halo, Bapak. Halo.
Oh, hello. Selamat malam.
Selamat malam. Lagi bikin kopi kayaknya ya?
Iya. Halo Pak Heri. Atau langsung ke Bu Zalfiati.
Oke. Silakan.
Bu Zalfiati, silakan. There is someone wants to know. Why you give us keras in the process. Someone Mr. Taufik Prihanto.
I can't. Can you say that again? There was a lot of feedback. I couldn't hear you.
Feedback. How is it? Okay, it's good now. Okay. Someone asked by chat why Mr. Lindsay make us a category with the keras for learning process in Indonesia.
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Okay. You said before in Indonesia is in keras category. I mean hard in Indonesia keras.
Oh no, I didn't say that. I think it was misunderstood.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all. I don't think the Indonesian system is keras. I think what I was saying was that I know in some families, you know, in
Okay.
Indonesia, that the parenting can be very hard. And I
Parent-
say that, and I do know that a lot of parents are not hard on their children. Of course, it's not a generalization. I was not making a generalization about Indonesian people, not at all. But I do know in my school that we have parents who are very hard on their children, you know, and I do know, I know Indonesian schools. I have worked in some schools where, you know, it is a very kind of punitive approach to punishment for kids, you know. So I think, you know, and the same in England, you know, this is not Indonesia. I'm speaking from experience about the UK as well. You know, in schools in the UK, it's very hard. You know, teachers don't listen to students. And I just think that this is something that education, we can do better. I really do believe that we can do better. But this was not, I was not in any way criticizing Indonesia or teachers or anything like that. No, not at all. I think that was a misunderstanding. Yeah.
Ya, jadi gitu ya Pak ya. Jadi bukan proses pembelajaran di Indonesia yang dikategorikan keras oleh Miss Lindsay, tetapi sebahagian dari sistem di orang tuanya, parentingnya. Jadi sebagian dari orang tuanya mungkin kelihatan terlalu keras gitu. Nah, itu sehingga juga menyebabkan mungkin di sekolahnya juga menjadi berbeda. Gitu. Baik, Bapak dan Ibu, kita masih ada beberapa menit ke depan. Mungkin kita masih bisa 2 pertanyaan lagi. Silakan yang tunjuk tangan dari Bu Rati Dewiana atau Bu Widarti Idris. Silakan dibuka mikrofonnya, Bu Umi.
Bu siapa? Widarti. Oke.
Boleh.
Halo.
Halo Bu Umi.
Silakan,
Ya,
Bu
silakan.
Okay. Hello, Mrs. Lindsay Ben. Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you for having me. Okay. Let me introduce myself. I'm from South Sulawesi, and I am a teacher of a junior high school, number 3. Okay. And then my question is, you said on the beginning that, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that we cannot say that the students is wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes happens in school that the students make some mistakes, and then we're giving punishment to them. Because if we didn't give them a punishment, they will repeat the same mistakes. So how can we give them punishment? I mean, not the physical punishment. Yes. Okay. I think that's all. Thank you, Mrs. Lindsay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a really good question, because I mean, I'm here to talk about restorative practices, and restorative practices are not about punishment. You know, you know, the systems that we run are not punishment focused, and that's restorative practices has got nothing to do with punishment. So, you know, we talk through the issues and we find out the real problem, and then we work out the relationship. So there is no need for a punishment. But I have to be honest with you, there are certain things that are, of course, unacceptable. You know, in our school, we have a very strict policy that if a child hits another child, then the child who hit the other child, I mean, we're talking teenagers, then the child who hit is suspended from school. And they will not return to school until they go through the restorative process. The problem with that is that if we suspend a child, they get to stay home. And that's not a punishment. Because sometimes the parents are working, you know, they don't have time to look after their child at home. So the child just spends all day watching television. That's not really a punishment. So what we do is that we do an internal suspension, which means that the child comes to school and is in a room all day. They do their classwork. The teachers will visit them and give them the work to do. And during that day, they will meet with me. They will meet with the school counsellor. They will work towards a restorative meeting with the person that they hit. And then we will have the restorative meeting. So they are suspended, but they're suspended in school while we go through the process of restoration. So, you know, I mean, we do punish, but I think the thing with teenagers is if we punish too much, they don't care anymore. Stop caring.
That's happened a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and we have to let them know that we have to find a new way of working with our teenagers. And restorative practices does that. It lets them be heard as well. Now, you know, when we talk about right and wrong, what we want is a child to figure out that they are wrong with your support. As a teacher, I don't want to tell a child they're wrong. You know, they need to learn that for themselves. They need to know, because the more they understand their own behavior, the less likely they are to do it again. Punishment means you can handle it. And to some teenagers, it's a badge of honor. Oh, I'm going to get punished again. Oh, I've been suspended 5 times. They wear it like a glory. And like Adrian, was it before? He was talking about how bullying is now permissive. And, you know, people wear this badge of honor. It's not viewed as a problem, where restorative practices view the bullying as the problem, not necessarily the child is the problem, because we can work with teenagers. Their minds are open, you know? So I think a balance is what you're looking for as a teacher, perhaps a balance between there should be a consequence if the action dictates it. But we must listen to what our young people have to tell us. Because that way you will find out why the bully bullies. And that's what you're interested in as a teacher. Why are you doing this? But if you punish them only, you will never find out why, and the bullying may never stop. They move the bullying to outside school or before school. Yeah? Bullies are clever. they need to bully. So you need to find out why that person's bullying, and your work needs to be with the bully, you know? Find out what's going on. Ask them those powerful questions. Why are you bullying that person? Have you had a punishment? Why do you continue to bully even though I've already given you a punishment? Find out why that child thinks what he thinks. Who is the teacher? Because it's obviously your fault, because you're not disciplining the children enough. And it's very difficult. It's so hard for us as teachers to... We do put up with a lot of parents shouting and being unreasonable, and it can be very, very difficult. But I do think that if you begin to develop a school community that is based on honesty, that is based on trust, that is based on morals, values, all of those wonderful things that Indonesia has in abundance. You know, your morals, your values are just wonderful in Indonesia. And I think that, you know, you have those, and bringing those into school can be very, very powerful for you. I think you have an advantage here to Western education, because, Indonesian people are amazing. You know, your values are so strong here to Western education, because... Indonesian people are amazing. You know, your values are so strong. And, you know, I really believe, you know, and the teachers that I've met are incredible, and they want to make a difference in their students' lives. They really do. The problem comes because you have not issued a punishment. And sometimes they will come angry.
Subuh ya.
Sometimes you can't win. It can be very difficult.
Yeah.
The school policy and the school procedures on dealing with a case of bullying. And I'm very communicative with the parents. Most parents say, okay, I'll let you do that. Some parents, however, say that's not enough. I want the bully to be punished. I want them expelled or suspended and so on. And when a parent comes to me and is that angry, you know, the best thing you can do is diffuse the situation. You know, you make them a cup of coffee, you know, all you need to do. And when you've listened and you've gone, and then, a lot, and you nod and your body language is open.
Okay.
Then you can say to the parent, now let me tell you what happened. And then you can be honest and you can tell them exactly what happened. You can tell them exactly what you did as the teacher, how the child responded, and what you are going to do in the future to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And then you're going to listen again and nod and listen. And the more you listen and the more you say, I really understand what you're saying, the more the parent will calm their emotional distress. And that doesn't matter whether it's the bully or the bullied. You know, the parents will still have a perspective and you still need to listen.
Jadi Pak Ari, thank you Mrs. Lizzie. Jadi Pak Ari, kalau misalnya orang tua yang datang ke sekolah marah-marah karena anaknya dibully, yang Lizzie adalah bersikap dewasa, bersikap bijak, pendekatan budaya, bicara, kemudian jangan di ruangan yang terbuka, ada di ruangan tertutup. Kita dengan dia struktur kita juga terbuka sehingga dia bisa dalam situasi itu dan bisa memastikan orang tersebut bahwa menangani kita juga bisa berjadi tidak akan terjadi lagi kejadian serupa terutama terhadap anaknya itu. Dan saya pikir itu jawaban di tangan. Mrs. Lindsay, there are still many attendees who raise hand, but we know you will not over on 9 p.m. Bapak dan Ibu, Mrs. Lindsay sudah jadi ini memang tidak bisa untuk malam hari ini dan terpada lebih dari 9 bahwa we still give your time for the next time. Okay, but now we are going to close. Yes.
Hello, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, okay, now is okay.
Okay.
Pak Herudin, suara putus-putus ya? Pak Herudin, halo, teman-teman, suaranya putus-putus.
Halo.
Iya, putus-putus.
Tadi putus-putus.
Iya, terdengar putus-putus ya Umi.
Sekarang
putus nyambung teh.
Putus nyambung. Pak Herudin, tes. Halo.
Sekarang
Masih Teh Umi.
Masih Bunda Stella.
Iya masih.
Oh ya, coba minta tolong Pak Adrianus atau Bu Indah untuk meminta closing statement sama
Miss Lindsay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. The host, Mr. Hairin, ask you to give a closing statement of what you have presented tonight. Thank you.
Okay, I can do that. Okay, so look, you know, I think first of all, I want to say thank you. You know, I have lived in Indonesia for a very long time. And one of the reasons that I live here is because I think Indonesian people are amazing. And, you know, throughout all my years here, I have worked alongside some Indonesian schools as well, particularly with the work on restorative practices. We have a sister school in Surabaya, and teachers have come over and observed the wellbeing work. And, you know, the one thing that I always notice about Indonesian teachers, and I'm sure this is for all of you, that you are so passionate about what you do. And I think that to be able to speak with you all today and to share something that I'm very passionate about. And I think, you know, restorative practices are very complex and they're very new. And, you know, it might be difficult with just one person. And I believe that if one person today takes away the fact that maybe, you know, they could listen more to a child, or maybe they could talk more and understand why, we can all take a little bit of that and put that into us that we teach. It's a privilege for me to present to so many amazing Indonesian teachers. So I guess the thank you is for you, not so much for me. So thank you very much for having me here today. And thank you for letting me share my passion about the way that I work in wellbeing in our school. So thank you very much.
Big thanks. Thank you so much. You can give your time to us for the next time. And this is a really short time for us to discuss about the situation of our school, of our education.
Rudi,